Bessie Come Home is a BBC audiobook which was released on the 5th of August 2021. It lasts about 80 minutes, or the exact length of one CD, though a lot of people will probably choose to listen to it on download. And it features none other than the Doctor's trusty vintage car, Bessie. It's also performed beautifully by Stephanie Cole. But is it worth a listen? Well, that's really what I'm here to talk about today briefly. To do so in any detail is going to involve a certain amount of mild spoilers, but hey, we'll keep them to a minimum, and there's definitely no need to give away the ending. So I thought we'd start by setting the scene, then chat a little bit about the style of the writing, the type of story that we're getting here, and then perhaps how it compares to other things in the same genre. Well, the story is set in the present day, and Bessie is actually residing in I.M. Foreman's scrapyard. Yes, they still exist, albeit they've moved to new premises, and it's now run by the grandson, who they refer to as young Mr. Foreman, even though he's actually in his 60s. Now all seems pretty happy and contented under the doting care of the young Mr. Foreman, until somebody comes along offering £1 million to purchase Bessie. But why? End of spoilers. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I've listened to it more than once, and I'm sure I'll listen to it again in the future. But what kind of tale has the author actually given us here? Well, for a start, narrated in the first person, Bessie is obviously talking now. But how does this actually happen? Is she just given a bit of license to talk to the listener only, otherwise the story wouldn't be possible? Or is she talking to other people? And if so, how? And this is the first issue I think I have with the writing, is it's not particularly well clarified. Yes, she's clearly communicating with young Mr. Foreman. That's fairly clear from the outset, but it's not quite sure how this is happening. Has she got a voice? Has she had a loudspeaker installed, or do we presume she's now got a face on the front of her body like something out of a Reverend W. Awdry story? And the issue here is that you kind of don't know what type of story you're listening to. Are you listening to some sort of childish reimagination, which is fine, or is it something that could actually indeed fit with the history that we know? Now later on this is cleared up. She talks through telepathy to young Mr. Foreman, and I think the idea is that at the beginning of the story he's only just beginning to cotton on to her communicating with him, and then it builds and becomes more fluent throughout the book, and we are told further down the line that it's some sort of telepathy, which I suppose is the sensible choice. But it would have been nicer to have had that kind of thing clarified at the beginning, so that you knew what kind of, get in the right mode of what kind of story you were really listening to. It's absolutely fine, but I would have preferred that clarified a bit earlier, I suppose. Now, the problem with writing something like this is, what can you really do with it apart from summarise everything we remember about Bessie from the TV show? Well, this I think is where the writer has tried pretty hard, because there is an original plot there, and rather than just going into that summary, Bessie dips in and out of it subtly and enjoyably, interspersed throughout the present plot. So that works and is not nearly as annoying as perhaps it could have been. This is essentially a gentle story. Bessie is not taking you on a roller coaster of a drive, even though she goes pretty fast at one point apparently. The route doesn't involve a lot of twists and turns, and neither is she trying to keep you on the edge of the passenger seat. It's more of a pleasant drive on a Sunday afternoon, but a thoroughly enjoyable one. The joy of this is essentially the quaint quality of the writing itself, a childlike style that can appeal to all, coupled, of course, with Stephanie Cole's amazing performance. It's clearly written as an audiobook, not intended in a printed form, and it's one of those cases where it is the performance itself that brings it to life. But that is only possible if the quality of the writing is there in the first place, and in this case it definitely is. A certain amount of incidental music and sound effects are included, but a little bit subtler and not quite such a high level as, say, you would get in a Big Finish drama. And I think that's just exactly the right amount for this. This is essentially a reading rather than a dramatisation, and what they use is more similar, I think, if any of you have heard the official readings of some of the Target novels. It's rather similar to that, even though this is a bit shorter. I think the length is about right for essentially what is a fairly simple tale, because you never feel that you're getting lost. You do eventually arrive at the destination, but you go via quite a pretty route, including memory lane, where you hear anecdotes that are both humorous and melancholy. We even actually clear up a small continuity error from the Five Doctors, so the writer has obviously done his research here. But when you do get there, it's still a surprise. This is not a Big Finish companion chronicle. If you're looking for that kind of complexity, stick to them. This is more like something from Terrance Dicks, but Terrance Dicks on a good day. This will do 3 or 4 bedtimes or 2 long baths. It's a wonderful sedative of a listen. For what it is, it works rather well. What you're paying for, I think, is for the quality of the prose and for the beautiful performance itself, rather than anything too heavy. It brought back memories to me of a friend of mine who shared an audiobook that they had a long time ago, decades ago, on 2 cassettes, and that was Black Beauty. That was a horse, this was a car, but it brought back memories of that. I suppose it felt quite similar in a few ways. So, well, before we give it a final verdict, I hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about it. I don't make an awful lot of these kind of things, but do consider subscribing, so you'll know if anything else does come along. There's other things I would like to look at. And thank you to my sponsor, who is the Lord Jesus, and he would dearly love you to subscribe to his channel. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about him or got any questions, I'd recommend you Google what you're seeing on the screen now, which is the Alpha course, which is free. There's not even any adverts in it. So have a think about that. I'm not wild about star ratings, and I can't give this 5 stars. I don't think it's meant to be something that was written to get 5 stars in the first place, but I'll give it a generous 4 because I enjoyed it so much. If I was judging it on the plot or any great originality, I couldn't give it more than 3. If I was judging it on the quality of the writing and the performance, it would be a definite 5. So we'll give it 4, but with a great big yes, I would recommend at the end of it. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I do hope you go and have a listen to this. I'm sure you will like it. And hopefully talk to you again soon. Bye bye now.